Welcome! During the Great War, several armies marched through Ukraine, followed by many others after the armistice as clashes continued. In this video and the next, I will explain what happened during this period, who tried to take or maintain control over Ukraine, creating a huge mess. In 1914, the region was cut into two by a stable border that had existed between Russia and Austria-Hungary since the 1815 Congress of Vienna. Both sides had plans regarding the Balkans, but Russia also wanted to represent itself as the patron of all Slavs, so conquering Galicia was a logical objective. At first, all went well. Russia mobilized faster than expected and invaded, quickly halting the Austro-Hungarian advance, turning it into a rout. The city of Lemberg was taken, along with most of Galicia, and the fortress of Przemysl, which was besieged twice and finally fell in early 1915. The local Ukrainian population greeted their fellow Orthodox Slavs with friendship, while the ethnic Poles and Germans were obviously not amused. Ukrainians were viewed as little Russians by the Tsar's empire. They had a large Russophile community with strong pan-Slavic sentiments. On the other hand, Austria supported Ukrainian nationalism, mainly to separate them from Russia. In late 1914, Russian troops advanced to the Carpathian Mountains, but they could not continue. Budapest and Vienna remained out of reach. In the following year, the Central Powers counterattacked and scored a major victory in the Gorlice-Tarnów offensive, taking most of Poland and regaining part of Galicia. The Ukrainian population was stuck between the two sides, with 3.5 million serving in the Russian and 250,000 fighting in the Austrian army. Naturally, they often fought each other, but both sides accused Ukrainians with collaboration with the enemy, sending them to concentration camps. Austria-Hungary sent 20,000 to Thalerhof in Styria and Terezin in Bohemia, where thousands died before Emperor Karl I closed it in 1917. Hostilities continued in 1916, although the front became more stable. The situation then changed during the Brusilov offensive, which once again pushed back the Austro-Hungarian forces, retaking most of Bukovina, but not the northern territories closer to Poland. Russia was on its knees by that time. It had spent all its reserves and the population was fed up with the war, and the Tsar, who was now commander-in-chief. The February Revolution, which took place in March 1917, according to the Gregorian calendar, removed him from power, but the provisional government continued the war. The revolution encouraged ethnic minorities to demand greater autonomy. Already in March, a central council was formed in Kiev, followed by a national congress and the first volunteer regiment in May. The Ukrainian People's Republic soon wanted full independence. A military committee was established with Simon Petyura as its head. A general secretariat was elected by the Central Council as an authority of state power, and when the Kerensky offensive collapsed in July, negotiations with the provisional government broke down. Deserting Ukrainian soldiers of the Russian army joined the local forces. Anarchists disarmed some units in the south, while frequent strikes hit the industrial Donetsk basin. In early November, another revolution took place in Petrograd, the capital of Russia. The Bolsheviks gained power under their leader, Vladimir Lenin. A similar attempt took place in Kiev, but it failed, so local Bolsheviks set up a rival Ukrainian republic in Kharkov instead. The Central Council in Kiev consolidated its power and declared full independence from Russia in January 1918. The Rada did not have significant military forces. They were soon pushed out of several regions and Kiev itself by the Kharkov government and its Red troops. They retreated to Zhytomyr, while Romania took Bessarabia. Local Bolsheviks formed more republics in Odessa and Donetsk, and Nestor Makhno formed his anarchist Free Territory in the south before allying himself with the Reds. At the same time, a white volunteer army was formed, it crossed the River Don and defeated the anarchists. All these forces fought each other to gain control, further increasing the destruction and the suffering. Lenin's new Soviet government signed a ceasefire with the Germans in Brest-Litovsk. Negotiations continued in order to arrive at a peace treaty. These talks broke down in February 1918, after which the Central Powers launched another offensive, this time without serious opposition. In 11 days, huge territories were captured in the Baltics, Belarus, and Ukraine, forcing the Bolshevik government to sign the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, essentially giving up these lands. Germany wanted to establish satellite states in this region, so they assisted local forces in removing Russian and Soviet troops from the area. The Central Rada also wanted their help, in return for significant food shipments, which both Germany and Austria-Hungary badly needed. Kiev was taken, driving out Bolshevik forces from Ukraine. Odessa was taken with Austro-Hungarian assistance in the same month. With German help, Ukrainian troops took control of the Donetsk Basin, Crimea, and Kharkov in April. The socialist-leaning Central Council was soon dispersed, and German military authorities installed Pavlo Skoropadsky as the second hetman of Ukraine, turning it into a dictatorship. Its borders were different. Crimea was not included, but parts of modern-day Russia and Belarus were taken. Social reforms were replaced with food extraction and the restoration of large landowners, so the hetman quickly became unpopular. The Galician Protocol, a secret agreement, was signed in Berlin. Ukraine was to send over 1 million tons of grain to the Central Powers before July 1918. In exchange, they would get Eastern Galicia. This German-backed Ukrainian state established diplomatic ties with many countries and signed a peace treaty with the Soviet Union. New textbooks were printed, more schools were established, an effective administration was created, but internal opposition mounted. In July, commander of German troops, Hermann von Eichhorn, was assassinated. Acts of arson and sabotage followed, just as the Central Powers were running out of steam. Skoropadsky turned to White Russian forces for support, but most of his own officers did not believe in an independent Ukraine, and the population lacked a national identity that could have united it. He tried to blockade Crimea and annex the Kuban, but green armies of peasants rose up all over the country, weakening the central administration. November was a hectic month. First, the West Ukrainian People's Republic broke away from Austria-Hungary and took the province of Galicia with it, except for the city of Lemberg, which had a Polish majority. Poles and Ukrainians were soon fighting over the region, while the Central Powers signed an armistice ending the Great War. In Ukraine itself, an uprising took place, and the hetman was soon forced to surrender his powers. The Ukrainian People's Republic returned, this time in the form of a provisional state committee, the Directorate, led by Volodymyr Vinichenko, although he was soon followed by Simon Petyura, whose forces played a key role in the seizure of power. The old new republic was militarily weak and disorganized, although most of the hetman's forces joined the new state. Around 100,000 volunteers were available to defend Ukraine. The German and Austro-Hungarian occupation forces were leaving the country, but it was surrounded by enemies, with no allies in sight. The anarchists in the south returned. The Bolsheviks annulled the Brest Peace Treaty and renewed their aggression. A newly established Poland was trying to gain control of West Ukraine. French troops landed in Odessa and Sevastopol, and General Denikin's White Russian Army in the Kuban and the North Caucasus was also not sympathetic to the Russian cause. I hope you found this brief summary interesting. I will talk about the following years in the next video. Until then, enjoy my other episodes. See you around!